What is going on, baseball fans, and welcome back to the channel. This is Orioles Today, and as always, I am Sean Ferguson. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to today's episode. And if you're a fan of today's episode, as always, please give that like button a big high five. And if you're a fan of this content, please subscribe. Get yourself daily notifications for all of these daily video drops covering all things the Baltimore Orioles. And the rumors continue to swirl, and apparently the Orioles are still looking for a top-tier pitcher, a frontline starter to add to the rotation. This is something that Mike Elias has said quite a bit this offseason. You heard it really ringing true at the winter meetings. They did add a bat in the winter meetings with the big-time signing of Pete Alonso. No pitchers were added there, but there was a lot of conversations had, and the rumors still continue to come out that Mike Elias' goal is still to secure a top-tier frontline starter to this rotation by the end of the offseason. And, I mean, spring training is already less than 1 month away. It is coming fast. And the Orioles have made some nice moves, but a lot of teams around them, especially here in the American League East, have made some pretty big ones too. And they're trying to compete and win in 2026. That's awesome, but adding a frontline guy is one thing that they just really need to do, and the options are becoming more and more limited, as we already talked about. Suarez gone, and that was really a guy that appeared that the Orioles were all in on. He went elsewhere, and the top two trade targets that it appeared are gone as well, and Freddie Peralta and Mackenzie Gore, they were dealt elsewhere. And it just really looks like Framber Valdez and Zach Gallen, and the Zach Gallen rumors are starting to come out a lot more as more reports are coming out that it just makes the most sense for the Orioles and Valdez to come to terms on a contract. But now there's stories out there right now that the Orioles are interested in Zach Gallen as well. And again, Valdez and Gallen are the top two remaining options when it comes to free agency. And if the Orioles are looking for a frontline starter and a top-tier guy, that makes the most sense that they are interested in both of those guys since they are the best remaining available out there. And I've been saying this over the last couple of episodes. It just has to happen. They have to sign one of these guys going into spring training. They have to have one of these guys on the roster, it feels like. And they've added nice depth pieces, but it's time to add to that front end with Rogers and Bradish. You know, you hope injuries don't come about, but they faced their fair share last year, and they got good depth now. But to add that one more guy in the front end to help with a lot of that and be able to carry a lot of that weight and really solidify the front end, it really feels like that's the move you got to go. You made all the other moves. You said you need a frontline guy. Time is running out. And again, it still appears with the rumors that are out there, they're still in on Valdez, but they are also interested in Zach Gallen. So we will continue to keep an eye on that over the next couple of days. Hopefully a move is made here over this weekend. Maybe we'll see something at the very beginning of next week. Only time will tell, but we can continue to hope, guys. We can continue to hope. And like I said, spring training is less than 1 month away already. It'll be here before we know it. You know, we got the World Baseball Classic and the more around the middle of March as well. So there's a lot going on here very, very soon. And I really want to know what you guys think down in the comments about this next topic that I want to talk about, and that is, what are the biggest questions for the Orioles going into spring training? We still have some time, but again, we're less than a month away, and it'll be here before we know it. So I have 5 questions that the Orioles will have, or we as Orioles fans looking at this team that the Orioles should have going into spring training. 5 questions going into spring training. And again, let me know down in the comments other questions that you guys think the Orioles are going to be asking themselves and looking for going into spring training. Number 1, will the Orioles add another ace before spring training? I won't go deep into that one because we just talked about it. Mike Elias, what he said in this offseason, they need to add a front line guy, and that's their goal. And they've yet to do so. So we will see. Question number 1, will the Orioles add an ace before spring training? That is a big question heading into spring training. Number 2, who will stand out in the bullpen? And when you look at our bullpen, we have some nice pieces there. And I know I've talked about on this channel, here in the offseason where it'd be really nice to add at least one more guy to go there. And when the rumors about JoJo Romero potentially being traded from the Cardinals to the Orioles was out there, and those talks have really cooled down now, and it doesn't look very likely that he's going to be moved now. But back when they were about, I love that move. I thought he would have been a great addition to the Orioles bullpen, and what they have now isn't terrible, but I believe you can improve it a little bit. And I'm really curious to see in this question who is going to stand out. And I think that's going to be a big question that they're looking for. Who can be that setup guy to a Ryan Helsley who's closing? And you have a few options there. And I know Yinyer Cano used to be that guy when Felix Bautista was out there. They were a good 1-2 punch. And then now you're looking into saying who's going to be that guy. And we'll see if Cano is able to bounce back. He hasn't been himself the last couple of years. Can Andrew Kittredge be that guy? We traded for him as soon as the offseason really kicked off. We got him back after trading him away this past trade deadline. And there's a few other pieces in there as well. And if you answer question number 1 and you do add another ace before spring training, can you add one of those guys, maybe a long reliever type, play with that in spring training to see if that stands out? They have options there, and I'm really excited going into spring training to see who really is going to stand out. But there's a few guys that are currently on this roster that have the potential to be that guy. Again, Yinyer Cano is one of them. So that is question number 2. Question number 3, who will be the guy that can be a strong utility player for the Orioles? And I have been talking about Jeremiah Jackson. I think he's going to have a big role in 2026 for Baltimore. And I mean, I know I've had a few of you guys disagree with me, which is fine, mainly because of his defense, but I think his bat's going to be pretty explosive, and we'll see what kind of progress he was able to make this offseason, what he worked on, and hopefully we can see those improvements in spring training, and hopefully he can flourish. And if not, we'll see if Weston Wilson, who was just acquired from the waiver wire from the Philadelphia Phillies, what he can do. He's coming off a really down 2025, but he is also a utility player and someone that the Orioles can throw into spring training and see if he's able to work on his game and compete for that spot as well. The Orioles are they could really use a good utility guy. No more Ramon Urias, no more Jorge Mateo. So we'll see what they got in Jackson, and we'll see if Weston Wilson makes the team. And in spring training, we'll see what he got. We see what he will have there. And number 4 is going to be, how will the bats that struggled last season show improvement? And there's quite a few bats on this team that I'm excited to see in spring training because of just how it went last year. Colton Cowser's bat is one of them. I'm really excited to see what he's able to do in spring training. I really would like to see Gunnar Henderson just have a really, really strong spring training because of the injury that he talked about, the shoulder injury that we didn't know about until this offseason that he talked about that really hindered him this past year. So we'll love to see his bat go. I would love to see Rutschman's bat and Basayo's bat, just those guys really whose numbers were really, really down. I would love to see their improvement and just have a really, really strong spring training. And it wouldn't be a great thing to see them go in there and continue to struggle in spring training. That wouldn't be a good vibe. So I'm very excited to see question number 4, how will those young bats that struggled last year show improvement? And question number 5 that I have, how will the new coaching staff affect this team? Again, it's pretty brand new all over the place, a few returnees, but Craig Albernaz in his very first season as manager of the Baltimore Orioles, taking over for Brandon Hyde, and then interim manager Tony Mansolino. And I've talked a lot about this team, a lot of youth in this coaching staff, and I think it's really, really going to go well with the youth on this team, with a few veterans here or there, and I'm really excited to see that flourish in spring training. And for me, that's question number 5. How's it going to look? And I think it's going to be, I really think that it's going to do a lot better than people think, and I believe it's the Nationals too. They're getting a really young staff, especially their front office is very young as well. And I think for what the Orioles have right now, I think it's going to bode very, very well for them going forward. And I'm excited to see that start off in spring training. And again, let me know down in the comments some more questions that you think that the Orioles are going to have, or that the Orioles are going to have going in to spring training. And speaking of spring training, Craig Albernaz announced that Heston Kjerstad will be a full participant in spring training. And he did not go into too much detail after that, but he did announce that Heston will be available, a full go for spring training, which is good news. Heston missed pretty much the entire second half of last year with an undisclosed reasons. The team pretty much just came out and said it was fatigue, and they didn't go into too much detail, and we still don't have much detail about that. We just know that it was fatigue and that he missed pretty much the entire second half of last year, and his numbers were not great. Before he went out, he just hit 192, 4 home runs off 30 hits. He had 16 runs scored and 19 RBIs. And with that, there's a lot of discussion. Is he going to make the initial 26-man roster with all the spots they have right now? Does he fit? Career, he's hitting, and this is when he just came in 2023. He's hitting 218. He's got 10 home runs off 62 hits, 27 runs scored, and 36 RBIs. And he could be a guy that starts 2026 in AAA. But again, if he's a full go for spring training, who knows what can happen, and that could be another one of those young bats that I said back in question number 4 that I'll be very excited to see in spring training, and hopefully he has a good spring, and we'll see where he's placed to start 2026. I want to go ahead and get into some of your guys' comments from this past episode. As always, thank you so much to everyone who continues to comment on all of these episodes, and I apologize if I'm not able to get to all of them or if I mispronounce any of these. Starting off with Bear. No Valdez, he's trouble in the locker room. Elias is waiting too long to do anything. It does feel like he's waiting quite a bit longer than he should have for some of these starting pitchers. I'm not sure what he has up his sleeve, but some of the top targets that it appears the Orioles were in on are already off the board, so not sure what's going to happen next, but we are holding our breath right now. This one from Me Focus. Stench of Angelos is not a thing. Players want money and years. The problem with Angelos is that they wouldn't give those things. And yeah, it was one of those things with Angelos that we all knew that the Orioles are going to have one of the lowest payrolls in all of baseball each and every year. They didn't give out many big contracts whatsoever, and I feel like the few that they did were misses. But it's new ownership now. We're already seeing it in a couple years of the new ownership that multi-year deals are starting to become a thing again, and they're actually going out and getting some big talent that makes sense and we know will make a difference on this team. So, yeah, I agree with you. There's some players that will go that they really care about the geography side of things and they rather not go to certain areas, but there's a lot of players too. If you throw enough money at them, then they're going to take what they can, especially if they can get a long, like you said too, money. But the years is a big thing too. If they can go to a place where they can get the years they want, that long-term deal, that's a massive difference maker nowadays as well. This one from Sebastian Shaw. On paper, we're a 4th-place team in the division. We'll look good in the regular season, but won't make the playoffs. And I think this is definitely a playoff team, like even on paper if you look at it, but I understand what you're saying because of just how the AL East is as a whole right now. On paper, you look at the Red Sox, the Blue Jays, and the Yankees, it's insane. And I honestly, I really don't think we are that far behind, especially if we are able to get some of these younger bats that we know can produce, get back to where they were. If Gunnar can get back to what he was used to just a few years ago, what he was able to do, if we can have a healthy Jordan Westberg, a healthy Rutschman and Basayo, Jackson Holiday continues to improve. You know what we have in Ward and Alonso. And then it's just a pitching staff. But we can add a front-end guy to already go with what we have in Rogers and Bradish and Eflin and Boz and Kramer and Wells. I don't think that this is a team that's going to finish below 500 this year, knock on wood. But I understand what you're saying with where we're a little behind. But I really think a front-end starter right now would make a massive difference to that positioning, and I think it would make this division even more so competitive than it already is going to be this year. This one from Joey Nucci. I thought a new rich owner was going to spend money on the roster. Alonso is great, but starting pitchers is the need. Yeah, and I absolutely agree with you. Alonso was a great signing. The trade for Ward, Again, that still looks okay, but it will make even more sense if they add one more pitcher because you gave up one to go out and get Ward. So you added some nice bats, and hopefully that will rejuvenate some of the bats that we already have. And then you go right now, and you could really look for that one more solid starting pitcher. This one from Dano. Super disappointed in Elias. The meeting with Ruben Steineiser earlier this offseason gave me hope. After watching teams who have no chance of a World Series get players like Gore, when we are one ace from contending and we let Rangers close a deal, yes, lots of prospects, so a 5-1 probably not a good move, but they were top pitchers available via free agency or trade, and we did very little. Boz, nice move, but end of rotation guy. Eflin, really? Bradish, coming off injury. Rogers, who knows? This pitching staff is super iffy right now and needs a front-end starter. You had most position players here and in place. You could use a real center fielder, but have done nothing to improve that position. Cowser will hit 200 and is a corner fielder, not a center fielder. And I understand the frustration. And that's why I've seen quite a bit too that, and I said this going into it, that Gore was going to demand a lot more because of age and team control that he had left. And Peralta he's out of it. He's out of team control. So he would cost a little because he's a super great talent and a front end guy. But Gore was going to cost you more. Yeah. So the 5-1, that's a ton to give up. I mean, we gave up 4 to get Boz, but the 5-1 for Gore, it would have, and I understand it would have been a little tough, but Peralta was definitely doable. The contract for Suarez was definitely doable. And I understand the iffiness. I've said the same things. We are super, super hopeful that Rogers is able to continue that like he has been after he was last year. And yes, the Bradish injury woes concern me. He's looking good right now, and we're just hopeful that he's able to make it through the season without injury. And I understand it's iffy. And again, adding that one more front-end starter, it'll make a massive difference. And I've talked about center field as well. You still have Harrison Bader out there. He's the best center field option available. He would demand a very low contract compared to everybody else. I've seen 2 years, $25 million. So I would love to see them go after that as well. So yeah, still a little frustration in a few areas, and I'm just hopeful by the time that the offseason finishes, the Orioles will make one more move or two. This one from Don Smith. Sure, let's sign another pitcher with an opt-out. Then next year we can need 2 starters again. Hard to even fathom this thinking. So, I mean, when it comes to a free agent out there that you can go grab, you can work on the opt-outs and everything, and you can have them past 26, 27, or 28. But I understand it if you go and get a guy, or like you could have if you traded for a Peralta and do a one and done, kind of like the Corbin Burns deal. That's how it could have been as well because he's out of team control and he could have went elsewhere after this upcoming season. So I understand that frustration too. But I do believe you go out and get maybe a Valdez or a Gallen, you can sign him to a longer-term deal. I think that's the way to go right now. And this is going to be last one from Dave Mathor. I will say I am grateful we didn't trade any of our young talent for another scrub, so it's not all bad. I'm happy with everything they've done this winter, for the exception of a number 1 starter. I really enjoy the channel. Thanks for posting. Dave, thank you very much for those kind words. And yeah, when you look at in the grand scheme of things, yes, it's okay. We still have a pretty solid farm system. We made the trade with Tampa Bay for Shane Boz, and we still have 5 players in the top 100 prospects and others that could be there real soon. And it's not terrible. We still have one of the better, in my opinion, one of the better farm system in the big leagues. We're just still lacking that number 1 starter. So again, very hopeful by the end of this offseason, before spring training comes around, the Orioles would have made that deal. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. I really do appreciate it. And if you are a fan of today's episode, as always, please give that like button a big high five. And if you're a fan of this content, please subscribe. Get yourself daily notifications for all of these daily video drops covering all things the Baltimore Orioles. I will see you guys on the next episode. This is Orioles Today. I am Sean Ferguson, and let's go O's.